Welcome, everyone. If you're here because you've heard of Ker Nethalas Into the Midnight Throne, but you're not quite sure yet if you want to dive into the entire core rulebook, but wanted more of an appetizer and something to get a little familiar with how the game plays, you've come to the right place because today I'll be walking through the Quickstart rules that are currently available as a pay what you want PDF on both itch.io and DriveThruRPG. As I understand it, there may be a softcover book coming at some point for purchase, but for right now, I will drop links in the description below, and you can dive right in and start playing with the quick start rules and pay whatever it is you'd like to pay. So let's jump right in. Before I get in, I'm stopping just very quickly on the credits page. I think it's important to note that all of the Ker Nethalas and other games by Blackoath Entertainment do not use AI for their artwork. They always work with artists in the community and pay for original artwork. All right, let's dive right in. So, Ker Nethalas in the Midnight Throne. So, the Quick Start Guide contains everything that you need to get right into the game and begin playing. It also comes with a new domain. We won't walk through that today to avoid spoilers, but it does come with a domain, which is essentially a dungeon you can dive right into. And it also comes with a number of pre-generated characters that we will walk through at the end of the video. It is a solo tabletop game, and you're guiding your character through the darkness of the necropolis that is known as Ker Nethalas. There is a simple oracle. You don't really need one, but there is a simple oracle that you can utilize if needed. So the dice that you'll be using are everything from a D4 up through a D100 dice. And so pretty much a full dice set. The setting is Ker Nethalas. And essentially, Ker Nethalas is a world of fading empires, lost ruins, and buried secrets. It's underneath the populous Alderworth Kingdom. The city of Valdonia sits atop Forbidden Rune that is known as Ker Nethalas or the Midnight Throne. Plenty of treasure that you can find as well in Ker Nethalas. So you can the one thing that's important to note is you can switch to the original rules if you like what you're seeing here, but you want to get back and get more into the crunchy role play and a little more, robustness. You can do that. So you can swap between back and forth the quick start rules and the full rules. And if you want, you can get to this page in the quick start and you can start playing right away. You can jump in to the domain that's called the Embalmist Lodge and just kind of come back to the rules as you get through the game. You don't need to read all of the rules. You can jump right in. The basics of the system are a D100 system. So you're going to be rolling a D100 against a skill. And if you roll your skill's number or lower, it's a success. A roll of a 1 is always a success, and a roll of 100 is always a failure. There are modifiers at times, depending on how difficult something is and a task is. And there are opposed checks. So sometimes you'll need to match your skill against another characters or enemies. And when you do that, you're going to be making a normal skill check, and then you're going to take your relevant skill, all your modifiers, and then subtract your opponent's relevant skill plus all of their modifiers. And then once you have that result, you're going to add 50 to that result, and then roll a D100 against that. If you roll the number or lower, you succeed. And there's examples in the quick start guide to go through that. There are critical successes and fumbles, and there are obviously consequences to both of those. Advantage and disadvantage in the game, and when you are rolling a D100, you'll have a tens die, and you'll have a ones place, and basically you'll swap those dice for advantage and or disadvantage. There are other things like sustained effects. There's a concept called usage die, which I really think is a cool concept, and it's used to track various things in the game. It could be ammunition, it could be armor, things of that nature. If you see what looks like is kind of a backward, it looks a little bit like a backward L, That's shorthand for your levels. So anytime you see that, it may be in the form of like a formula. Just know that that's your level. And there are coins, which are the currency of the necropolis. So you're going to be playing a survivor. You're going to have a number of attributes. These are consistent with the full game. They are health, toughness, aether, sanity, magic resistance, and exhaustion resistance. So health is really your overall health and your ability to withstand punishment. Toughness is something that kind of symbolizes your ability to push through stressful situations. And you do recover a small amount of this after each fight. Aether is a bit more of the kind of the magic system, and sanity is how well does your mind stand up against the horrors of the necropolis. And magic resistance and exhaustion resistance are relatively self-explanatory. So skills, you'll have a number of skills. By default, they can't be raised above 80, but there can be certain circumstantial bonuses and other effects that can essentially break that rule. And all of these skills are consistent with the core game as well. Now, masteries. Masteries are unique fields of study. Think of these as like classes, things of that nature, if you've played other role-playing games. And if you purchase the entire rule set, Ker Nethalas, into the Midnight Throne, that rule book offers 5 different abilities for each individual mastery. So you have a lot of ability to customize your character. There's a total of 20 different masteries. In addition, there's a Book of Masteries expansion that has a total of 10 mastery abilities per mastery, and adds 2 unique new additional masteries. So I would encourage you to check that out. Equipment encumbrance, there's a mechanism related to the number of carrying slots. And then combat. Again, this is a more streamlined version of combat in the Quickstart rules versus the core rule set, but still crunchy and I think still very engaging. There's surprise, there's different types of actions that you can perform during combat. There are free actions, and you can also use any number of reactions. Now, the trick with reactions are after your first reaction, each subsequent reaction you attempt incurs a cumulative -20 penalty. So you'll be attacking with standard action or maybe some type of ability or your weapon. And in response, the target can spend a reaction to defend against you. You can also potentially target a defender's weak spot. I'll show a quick example of a kind of an NPC or enemy card to walk through that. And you can target that weak spot only if that defender has a weak spot. Not all defenders will have a weak spot. Ker Nethalas, there's a concept of really a damaged table. Typically, you're going to be rolling a dice on this table to deal damage. There's some more concepts in here, some more miscellaneous attacking concepts. There's the concept of protection, which is usually signified by, say, armor. Integrity is a usage die that you use for armor, so you roll that at the end of the fight to see if that armor has taken any damage during the fight. So enemy actions, as part of the enemy's actions, you'll be rolling on their action. So there are different mechanisms and different actions that unique monsters will be taking. There's physical attacks, magical attacks, and those will be denoted on the monster's card, if you will. Conditions, there's a smaller number of conditions in the Quick Start guide, so a little bit more streamlined, but still quite a few conditions, and there are some that have lasting effects that you have to be cautious of. There's bleeding, there's poisoned effects, and things that can really stack up if you aren't careful while you're making your way through the necropolis. Healing and death at the end of combat, you will recover some toughness. When the party makes camp, you can also spend rations to recover all of your aether and other aspects. Exploring, so there is a concept of exploring in here, and there are rules around here. Light is very important to the overall necropolis as you progress through. There is an ability to map, and it's not present in the Quick Start guide, but the core rulebook does have rules to randomly generate a domain's layout. So the Quick Start guide really focuses on the Abyss Lodge, which is the domain that is included in the Quickstart guide. You can scavenge rooms. There's rules around locks and traps. There's a tension die because as you're navigating the necropolis, it's only safe for so long. So as you move between rooms, make noise, and what have you, you'll be rolling attention dice that when it runs out, you suffer certain effects such as exhaustion, and losing sanity. You can improve your character. You can improve your skills when you roll doubles on any skill check. You'll mark that skill, and when you camp, you're going to roll a D100 to determine if you roll above that skill, you can increase that skill permanently by D4. And the nice thing is even if you roll under the skill, you can still increase it by 1. So you're always going to be having some improvement. You can level up. Every 600 XP you level up. There's a concept of personal goals. A limited number of personal goals are included in the Quickstart guide. You'll have many more in the full core rule set. And you can have up to 2 personal goals at one time. When you do achieve those goals, you get certain beneficial effects that are listed here. All right, I'm not going to go through the Embalmist Lodge in detail. You can see the beginning of this. It's the first building you've encountered in the howling darkness of the plateau, the miserable and empty wasteland that you were tossed down into. Hieroglyphs crawl around the edges, showing scenes of men feeding potions and bandages and blades to other men. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm not going to go through anything else, but know that I believe there are a total of 15 different locations within this domain. So plenty of room for you to explore and learn about Ker Nethalas and how it plays. I'm going to open up one monster just briefly and show you what that looks like, just so you have an idea of the detail behind these monsters. So a little description of what this is called, Abyss Hermit. You've got the type, the number that you'll encounter, what their awareness is, endurance, athletics, and health. In this case, this monster does have a weak point. If you remember me describing the weak point, you can target that, albeit at a -30 attacking penalty. It has 2 protection, a combat skill, which it will use when it's attacking or perhaps defending against you. And it has magic resistance and even what spoils you might find if you are able to defeat this creature. There's some traits, so a little more detail there, what it's vulnerable to, in this case, piercing and acid. And then you will be rolling a d6 when it attacks to determine its action. So each of the creatures, and I think there might be 10-ish creatures as part of this domain, and each one will be unique and have its own stats and table. Let's walk through briefly the pre-generated characters. So you have the ability to use any of these characters. So the first characters is Lou Carl Hughes, and you can see their health, toughness, and relevant stats. Their masteries are Umbra Phantom and Stormbrand. So you can read about those if you get the Kickstart. There's a little bit more info on the equipment, what they have in terms of weapons, as well as other pieces of equipment. Vane Charl is the next one, and Vane Charl is both a brawler and a wraith spawn. Liddy Alhambly. Liddy Alhambly is a gravecaller. I love gravecallers. And an arcanist. And the next one is Mirosio Rimboni. And Mirosio is a mindbinder and an icon caller. And then finally, you have the option to select Imini Zul. And Imini is both a tracker and a weapon master. So there you have it. That is it. That is the quick start guide to Ker Nethalas. And I am going to quickly show the links so you can find this right now, 5-star review. You can find this on Drive-Thru RPG. And again, pay what you want, as well as on itch.io, and I will drop those links below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be doing more on other Blackoath Entertainment games in the near future. So if you do like what you see for Blackoath, please like and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching.